Okay, so we are live with the Node.js Foundation release working group meeting for the 16th of January 2020. And we'll be working from the agenda, which is in Node.js release issue 521. And we have just 3 or 4 items on the agenda today. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I've got the correct one. Let me just close some tabs. I have lots of tabs open. Okay, can you all see the agenda? Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the 12.15.0 release, which has been prepared. Michael, do you want to add your comments on this one? I saw that you added it to the agenda.
Yes, so I added it to the agenda because I know Miles wanted us to review the Semver minors that are in it.
Okay.
I haven't done that before, so reviewing the minors for an LTS release, so I don't know exactly how we should proceed. Have you already done that?
We've done it before. It's hard to pin it down to an actual set of criteria that we say yes and no. We kind of just gauge how stable we feel that feature is and just make sure we've got all of the bug fixes that come along with it. What we've done before is push all the Semver minors, so like use branch diff to create a gist of all the Semver minors for us to all just look at and go through a kind of thumbs up. Do you know how many Semver minors are in this release?
No, I haven't counted them.
Okay. So I guess what makes sense could be that we push it to we create like a little gist or just a summary of all the minors, and then at the releases to thumbs up to say that they agree that these are stable enough features to land in this release.
Sounds good to me. Who's creating the gist?
Okay, so there's nothing we have to do now.
When we for me, it was part of the mentoring process with Miles. So Miles kind of showed me how he makes the decision on it. I don't really know how to convey how those decisions are made. So I guess it's just best to work on consensus. And if everyone looks for each of the features and has the gut feel of, yes, these are good to land in 12, then I think we can just go with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I will do is prepare the notable changes section, which will mention all of the Semver minors, and I will mention the releasers team to review that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then makes it more async, so more of us can dip in and go through it. Okay, thanks, Michael. Also, I don't know if you've seen, I think there's an HTTP parser patch in this release. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it was marked minor.
I wasn't sure if there were plans to pull that into its own release, that's all. So I don't know if that's going to cause some trouble for you.
So, sorry, I didn't get your last sentence.
I think there were some plans to pull that patch into its own release, because I think it's
before the 12.15.
Yeah, so it would actually either push this one out in terms of time or just bump the version number for the the actual release, because I think because it's actually a breaking change, I think, but we're landing it because for security reasons, we need to make that breaking change.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, my gut feel is it should go in its own send for minor release if it's breaking, just so people know we can have more clarity about why we've done it, and it won't get hidden amongst a bunch of new features.
Yeah, well, it's not a problem. I will update this proposal after it's done.
Okay. I don't know when those that small bespoke release for that patch will happen. I don't have that information yet, but I think we're hoping it to be soon.
Yeah, and so about this proposal, there are a lot of commits, but as you can see here, many commits are small and don't actually affect code.
Yeah.
I tried to backport as much as possible because it's a minor release.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there are not so many PRs that couldn't be easily backported, and those I marked them backport requested. Actually, Ruben, most of them are from you.
Yeah, I've seen you mark
I don't know if you would like to actually work on backporting those.
I would be willing to do
in
that.
util format, especially.
Yeah. I can do that. The problem is just I don't have any time before the weekend.
Yeah, well, we don't have to get them in this release, but it's just to keep the risk of conflicts for later ones low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I didn't include the changes, the several minor changes to the REPL, because there are still a few bugs and PRs that are not landed on master yet, I think. So I think it's better to stabilize the new REPL features before we put them in 12, if we ever do that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I believe it's stable now with the current master.
Yeah, but it's not in a 13 release yet.
Exactly. It's not in release, and therefore I agree that we should postpone it into the next release in this case.
So that'd be the next minor, which is probably around April time, just off of the top of my head.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And there's probably going to be a bunch of that in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for generating the gist, Ruben. I'll paste that into the release minutes, just as a reminder for people to take a look at it. Okay. So yeah, I think on this 12.15 release, we need to keep in touch with the. I think Sam Roberts is coordinating some of the HTTP parser releases. So see when their plan is to put that one out in its own release. And next item on the agenda was the Node.js release mentoring and streaming. So we had our first session of that last Tuesday, the Tuesday before last, and it's a regular time slot. We've chosen it's 11 a.m. EST every 2 weeks, and it was quite useful. We kind of just went through the release MD process, just showed people the process of actually deploying a release. But I think the plan is for next time to go through and audit some of the minors. So we'll probably go through this list here, maybe even a double take on it, just to show the process of how we make the decision on whether a minor should be included or for a particular reason excluded. And everyone on the call at the time was happy for that to be streamed live to YouTube. So it is something that we will be able to record and put up on YouTube. and then we can refer back to it. I think there's also plans to do another time slot on Thursday, but I don't know. We haven't got that confirmed yet. So if anyone would like to join that for the mentoring, please do. And we have defining a word for all current releases on the agenda. I think this one's on me. Yeah. I opened a PR. It's not showing. I opened a PR in the Node.js release repo to define what each of the release phases mean. Miles, I believe, suggested that we take a look at the rest of the content in the release plan section of the README to make sure we're not duplicating or overlapping. But if anyone else has opinions on whether this wording is what they believe to be correct when we're explaining what current active LTS and maintenance should be, please do put your thumbs up for that part of the PR, because I think it's the wording that we need to get right first, and then we can work out where to put it. And also, I think also on the release agenda, we have Sam Roberts opened an issue saying that some of our documentation is kind of fragmented across the Node.js node and the Node.js release repo. So he's listed out all of the individual bits. I don't know what anyone's thoughts are on where the release documentation should live or where each part of it should live. I guess the first question would be, has anyone else found this a problem so far? Do we all think that the documentation is in the correct place as is, or we could move some of it back into Node.js core or back out into the release repo?
I kind of feel that the schedule should stay where it is, especially since other things refer to it. But I have no real objections if bits of the process were moved over, because we already have a releases, some sort of releasing process, don't we, in the main repo for cutting releases. So if some of the process stuff I think should probably move over so it's all in one place. But the actual schedule I think probably ought to stay where it is. Yeah,
I guess the release schedule has lived in this repo for so long that it may be disruptive to move it at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that, but maybe we could put a link in the main README to that.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
If you search Node.js release on Google, one of the first links is this repo. So I don't think it's difficult to find right now.
Yeah, we should try and add it, make sure there's a reference back to the release repo in the main README of Node Core. That makes sense. Okay, sure. So try and put the steps or process related things over into a guide in Node Core, but keep everything else as is. Seems like a good plan to start with, and we can always refine further in future. Okay. And I think there was something else labeled release agenda. But it may have been added after the issue was spun up. Nope, it's just those 3 items. Okay. Richard, I think you wanted to call out the change to the SitGem job?
Yes, it's we've added the option now so that you can run the node build version of the SitGem Smoker, the one that downloads pre-built binaries. So that can now test release candidates and V8 Canary in addition to the normal nightly and actual release builds. So that's, you know, usable during the release process. If you build release candidates, you can now run Citrus Smoke on it without rebuilding the entire release candidate.
And it will probably also have its own history, if I understand correct, right?
The history is still part of the Citrus Node. It's the no build version of the Citrus Smoker, so the history is in that job. But it will be like all of the other jobs. History will be the history of all the jobs, all the runs of that job, regardless of the parameters you pass into it.
Yeah, but let me rephrase my question maybe.
Yeah, sure. It is separate.
So,
It's separate from the normal Citrus Smoker jobs. There are two Citrus Smoker jobs, and they each have their own history.
yeah, so let's say you are running the version 12 Citrus, and then it's going to be only about version 12, no matter if it's a release candidate or something else, right?
It doesn't even matter if it's 12. So even if you run a 10 or a 12, the history is all in the same job.
Yep. Before we could only choose, I think it was
Release and nightly.
Release and nightly to run the no build. Richard's expanded it to have RC test and V8 Canary.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the separate work that Ashley Cripps is working on, where we've got the Citrus Smoker 10.x and the Citrus Smoker v12.x release lines. That's based on an issue I opened in the Node.js Citrus repo. And that was trying to get the kind of history of the specific LTS release lines.
Right, that's what I was relating to. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're going to give that a try. We're not sure how much it's going to help, and we've also had to duplicate completely cloned jobs, so there is a bit of a maintenance burden there. So we're just going to see how much it helps us having the trend, and then iterate further from that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been working. Sure. Let me check that no one else has joined participants. Nope. Is there anything else anyone wants to mention today? That was the everything on the agenda. No. I'll just call out again that the mentoring streaming, I've also added it to the Node.js release, Node.js Foundation calendar. So nodejs.org/calendar, you'll be able to see when those sessions are. Nope. If that's everything, feel free to check out the minutes. I'll try and add the link to the gist that Reba made of the Semver miners for that release, and I'd appreciate everyone just taking a look and just auditing the miners that we're putting into that release. But we'll leave that. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.